Has the African National Congress-led tripartite alliance become a shadow of its former self? And what does the South African Communist Party mean when they say Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan is being politically harassed? And why are the Reds urging the ANC to convene a non-elective national conference? How influential is this so-called Premier League? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. The South African Communist Party held its 13th Congress Central Committee meeting in Ekurhuleni over the weekend. The main focus of the gathering was an evaluation of the ANC-led alliance's performance during the local government elections. The gathering concluded, amongst others, that the ANC's formal structures are increasingly inward-looking. This is coupled with the party's preoccupation with factional battles and money politics, the party said. The SACP has lambasted calls for an early elective conference by the ANC Youth League, saying its motivation is entirely factional. The latest stalemate between Pravin Gordhan and the Hawks, allegations of the capture of the Treasury and the role of the so-called Premier League are some of the issues that have become a cause for concern for the Communist Party. But will the alliance be a united force come 2019 national elections? We are live, therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-1104-210. Our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. Before we go into today's discussion, let's take a look at these clips.
Our position remains unchanged. All parties to the dispute are encouraged to cooperate in the investigation. This matter serves no one by being debated in the public domain. All we're saying is that please deal with this matter in a decent way, engage each other, and we don't say Pravin Gordhan must be untouchable. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that handling an issue, if you want to investigate Pravin Gordhan, our view is all the agencies of state must do their work, but in a way that is decent.
The SACP has taken note of calls by the ANC Youth League for an early ANC National Elective Conference. We are also aware that the ANC Youth League is being used by others to test the waters in this regard. While any decision on the timing of an ANC National Conference must of course be made by the ANC itself, the SACP is firmly of the belief that the motivation for this call is entirely factional.
Well, the GS of the Communist Party there, that is Blade Nzimande, and earlier on the SG of the ANC, so the SG and the GS. But my guest today, Solly Paila, he is the second Deputy General Secretary of the South African Communist Party. Solly, welcome to Question Time. We really appreciate your time. I'm going to try and squeeze in as many questions as possible. Who is using the ANC Youth League?
There are political factions, in particular the so-called Premier League.
Who is this Premier League? Because they've denied it exists.
Well, not properly. I haven't seen them denying that. I haven't seen even the ANC leadership denouncing them. But what is quite clear is that intermingled with the Guptas, they've set about to capture structures of the ANC in several provinces and of the leagues. And then they're using those to fight political battles inside the movement.
Well, I've heard the ANC say and the Youth League saying there's nothing called the Premier League. We know that Supra is always referred to, Ace Magashule and Didi Mabuza, you know, that is said to be the league. So are you saying therefore as the party that Supra Mahumapelo, Ace Magashule, Didi Mabuza, they are out there to use the ANC Youth League?
Of course, I mean, we didn't give them the name of the Premier League ourselves. They were given this name by the City Press newspaper.
Okay.
But they have not denounced this properly. And over the years, the coordination has been quite clear since they got this name and the political work on the ground. Because we're in the structures of the movement as well. So they've acted almost in the same way described by the city press. They've coordinated takeover of provinces, factionalizing structures in provinces. Of course, now this thing has gravitated even to KwaZulu-Natal. That's why a united province has now been divided by petty factional decisions and interest, even from inside the National Executive Committee, in order to control the African National Congress.
But is the party, the Communist Party that is, are you not just being crybabies who have lost influence within the ANC and now are able to see and point out problems which in the past you never really had problems with?
No, we've always had problems with faction. Every time there's a problem like that, we've raised it.
No, but you've benefited from factions.
No, we've never been a part of a faction.
Your people are part of the NEC because they were part of the slates.
No. Yes, well, of course, they were elected on the basis of that, but at the time, we had confronted factionalism. We still do. To the extent that the ANC last conference could have elected people on the basis of a factional thing, and this current NEC did not resolve that problem. It's a concern for us. That's why we feel that it should be reversed. It should be confronted directly, so that we don't have slate politics in the movement. Any other capable member can be elected to the different levels that are appropriate for them to serve, rather than be on the basis of who support on a particular slate.
Now, you then say President Jacob Zuma has too much powers. Since when did you have problems with the powers of the president?
Since they are factionalized and they serve a grouping inside the movement. We want the prerogative right of the president. In fact, it's not the first time. We remember that President Mbeki, when we went to Polokwane, one of the issues was the fact that there was over-centralization of appointment of leaders, whether it's the premiers, the mayors, and so forth. We devolved that. We resolved on a policy devolving that. But we didn't resolve the entire problem. The prerogative right is now being used factionally to scare comrades who differ, particularly with a particular faction, which is quite clear now that the president is unable to contain it, and therefore you can, in a way, associate it with him because it serves him right. And if you look at the links with the Guptas, it's quite clear that he's okay with this particular faction. So he uses the prerogative right to shut down people and not to differ with him. That's why we think that the ANC must democratize the prerogative right. We don't run, in any case, presidential system here. We run party political electoral system. So it can't go when he goes into cabinet, for instance, with this big individual with this huge power that even his own comrades from the NEC have to accept whatever he says, even if it's not right, on the basis that they may fear he will remove them. If they criticize him, they are told from outside, they are gossiped into that, when are you going to be removed and so forth. So they are unsettled. We don't want that. We want a democratic movement, a deepening of democratic culture and practice inside the movement.
Felix, or is it Philly in Nelspruit?
Yes. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome, Felix.
Oh, yes. Actually, the problem I see is not factionalism. The problem, I'm telling you, is principle. Now, if you have a principle in which the so-called leader of our country is allowed to mess up our constitution, then there's a problem. And people are not willing to say the truth. The truth will always come out, whether you like it or not. You must make observations, and you must make your truth. Factionalism will always exist because we are not all the same. We will always have different views, but if we talk our views based on principle, it will always be right. That is where the problem is. We are not principled at all.
Okay, thanks very much, Felix. Now, do you want to respond to the?
No, I agree with him. I think, but obviously we do have factions. But the issue is that perspective, different opinions, doesn't necessarily mean that there's a faction. But it's wrong if, for instance, the majority, once they've taken a particular decision, believe that they should do all wrong things in the name that they got a democratic decision. Yeah.
So what, in your view, should happen in the ANC?
That's why we've called for the ANC to undergo a deep introspection, to revitalize and remobilize the motive forces of the revolution, meaning all sections of society that the ANC was working with in the fight against apartheid. from the progressive NGOs, from the South African Council of Churches, amongst them, the human rights organizations, all of them, and the alliance component, there's the student and youth formations, to actually take charge of the leadership of the National Democratic Revolution, to be a unifying force. And this is what we are lacking, we lack now. And that's the reason why we have these divisions inside the organization. That's why the leadership can't condemn factions, can't unify the organization.
No, but I mean, Guademantashe has always condemned factions.
You don't condemn factions in general forms. When there's one that is named the Premier League, you can't confront it, because
but
the one that is
out.
Yes,
you
that's what I'm saying.
I'm
pointing it out. But can the president say that? Can the SG say that? That's the point. They must be able to call them down and say, comrades, there are these allegations put against you. How do you answer to them? I have personally even reported to them the problems at the ANC Youth League, the ANC Women's League Conference, which was bought by money. In fact, even it was largely in the papers. Yeah. What has happened with that investigation? It has been put down. How are we going to stop this kind of practice tomorrow? If those that, like me, who now knows this happened and we reported it, nothing was done. Tomorrow, if I were to have money and do it to win the ANC conference, who will call me to order? That's the problem. If factions are unable to deal with issues in a principled and committed way, because if I'm a factionalist serving your interest and I'm doing it well, when you do wrong things, I look the other way around. I don't attend to the problems.
Star, you are in the Val.
Very good evening.
Yes, good evening, Star.
How are you, Paul?
We are well, thanks for the call.
Yes. No, actually, what I have observed happening within the Alliance family, I think it actually signifies that we have now entering a political phase whereby the glorious movement now is collapsing. I think they are now approaching what they call a natural death. Hopefully in 2019, ANC will be bench warmers. So Jesus has come back.
Okay, thanks very much, Star. Well, Jesus has come back. Who do you blame in this case?
There are two processes to blame, because there's been an impression that we should just embrace the notion of collective blame. We fully take responsibility for both successes and failures, weaknesses and strength of the entire movement, including in the ANC. The setback that we have suffered in the local government election, we also take part of responsibility. But we want to also say we are a revolutionary movement guided by revolutionary principles. One of the principles is on collective leadership. One of the principles is on criticism, constructive criticism and self-criticism. I can put it in this form. If you, as a comrade, you come into the house with mud on your shoes and you mess up the house, but we don't tell you that, comrade, you are messing up the house. When you leave, we all say, hey, comrades, the house is messed up, let's clean it up, all of us. But we couldn't tell you not to bring the mud in the house.
Okay.
It's a wrong application of collective leadership.
Now let's interrogate the muddy shoes in the ANC. Whose shoes muddied the house?
There are many, but principally, the leader of the party muddied the house. The people are concerned about the conduct of our president. They are concerned about the conduct of many of the NEC members. For instance, NEC members, has been long reported, and NEC members say we all have skeletons. So as a result, you can't deal with the one that is wrong because we all have skeletons. The people have said that to us. We knew as we were going to the campaign that the approval ratings of our president were very low. We knew that the people have raised the problems of corruption. They felt that we didn't handle the Nkandla process or the security upgrade constitutional court judgment proper as a movement. We take collective responsibility for that. We could have done better. They have a series of problems. In that form, for instance, why did we have to wait to be told by the constitutional court when we could have come to the same conclusion?
Masbonge in Cape Town.
Yeah, look here, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having a problem with the ANC, and seemingly this spiraling down is going down and it will never return. There's one thing I always note whenever they hold those briefings, right? for the public. You know, Guatemala will also be saying, yeah, we understand that ANC has got problems, so we will go to our members. These people forget that, you know, it's not the members, you know, who make ANC into power. You know, it is the majority of the people who are card-carrying. Yeah. I mean, it's them who put the ANC into power.
Okay.
You know, but whenever, you know, there are issues that are there, you know, that make us, you know, to wonder, you know, the SG would come and say, yeah, we understand the problems, we will go to the ANC members. You know, and, you know, as a result, you know, some of us took a decision that we'll never vote for the ANC up until, you know, it comes into its senses.
Okay. Masbong, thank you very much, Sbong and Nangu. Now, are you saying as the South African Communist Party, do you want President Jacob Zuma to go?
That's a decision for the ANC to make.
Well, what
we are simply saying is that we have expressed our views to him and to the ANC leadership. We have told them that there are problems of conduct before the elections. In his presence, we said the problem with the Guptas, who are capturing state-owned enterprises, doing as they please, getting unending tenders and contracts from Eskom, IDC, Dinel. They're just taking state-owned enterprises, and his son participates in this. And we said to him, this doesn't create a good impression in public. And of course, the basic answer is that we have no policy prohibiting that. It doesn't need policy. It needs revolutionary morality and ethical conduct of leadership that should know it is unacceptable. Which CEO of a state-owned enterprise will deny the son of a president who come with his business associates to put a deal on the table, which is a business deal? Okay. I won't say no. So those are the issues that needs to be addressed.
Gideon Eshowe.
Yebo, ninjani?
Siyaphila njani baba?
Hayi, ku right mfowethu. No, kuncane nje ngicela ukukusho ngiyimember ye-ANC.
Okay.
Ama-league sicela ake manje ukunominator emoyeni. Even laba ama-gatekeepers lana nala ama-supporters, ama-gatekeepers. Hayi awami manje sibuye phansi basic down kuma members siqala i-process kahle yokunominator. Asiyeke manje umengameli vele sipheka umengameli omusha manje.
Okay.
Izonit lokho sikhuluma ngoJacob Zuma manje.
Okay. Bab Gideon, siyabonga kakhulu Gideon, they're saying, well, look, let's start nominating for a new leader. No use talking about Jacob Zuma because it's going anyway. But I wanted you to get to a point where you say to us, did you, in your conversation, this frank and open, robust discussions, did you at any point say, President Zuma, please go?
No. That's a decision ultimately that he can take in himself on the basis of self-criticism.
But would you mind if he's gone?
No, I would not mind, personally.
Well, as the party?
Well, the party would have to discuss that. We respect the ANC decision-making processes, and that process must be respected. We will express our views to the leadership collective of the ANC. Initially, when we met with them, we expressed the areas that we are uncomfortable with in the manner in which they were handled.
Now, how do you expect this to be done if you are not supporting an elective conference of the ANC as soon as possible?
The ANC as it is captured as an institution. So it doesn't belong to the mass base of the ANC. It's taken by gatekeepers, it's taken by corrupt elements, tenderpreneurs, the Guptas, the Premier League, everybody. So all these forces have taken over the ANC. If you take it to a conference as it is, it will give you the same problems.
When should it go to conference?
That is why we are requesting for a non-elective conference, so that all these broad components of the movement...
But then it will bring you the same Jacob Zuma that you don't want.
No, it won't. It won't necessarily. It will discuss the problems and lay the law that this new NEC or the NEC existing one will know how to respect, so that as we go to conference, then the ANC, the new NEC will know its full powers, because this current one It's almost castrated, doesn't know its powers.
John, you are in Lens.
Hello, Minister.
Yes.
How are you, Mr. Tedu?
We're well, John. Thanks for the call.
I just want to do just a little comment with Mr. Mapailad.
Yes.
Because now we're talking about South Africa is no longer working. So why don't this SACP pull out of ANC and consult to do the same thing, so there can be opposition parties that can confront the ANC head on? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, we can't. I think that will be determined by different structures of the movement. But the objectives of the ANC are our objectives. We don't want to disassociate ourselves from the ANC. That is why we participated in the elections through the ANC in order to advance a program of our movement to end a series of inequalities, whether it's class inequalities, whether it's racial inequalities or gender inequality in society, and subsequent underlying problems, poverty, unemployment, and so forth, and many other social challenges. So collectively, all of us united, we should be able to resolve this problem. But if we decapitate ourselves, all of us will be much weakened, and these problems will take long to resolve.
You have Limpopo, for instance. The premier and chairperson of the ANC in Limpopo sits in the Central Committee of the Communist Party. He's under siege.
Well, I don't know. The point is that he accounts to the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC in Limpopo, and of course to the alliance components in Limpopo. So these are the issues that have not been attended attention to us. We know that our structure in Limpopo have had some problems with the conduct of the ANC leadership in its collective form in that particular province. But these are the issues that I think are being resolved. In fact, we had had discussion with our comrades from Limpopo about the situation in the province, so that it must be rectified. They must be able to get onto the ground and serve the people.
Marla in Begersford.
Mpo, how are you?
I'm well, thanks for the call.
Mpo, I think the challenge or the problem is having is the NEC.
Okay.
All the NEC, they are corrupt and they are afraid now. And they used to say, we are protecting this organization, while they know that they are protecting their own interest. I think that's what Rilo Vereka Kai Remokalagu Remoraki. If they want to solve their problem, they must tell Zuma to step down. And I want to urge Phil Mapangade to go out when they need to tell the government to step down. It's the only solution for this country.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, let's also quickly talk about, you came out in defense of Pravin Gordhan. Well, unheard of, of a communist party, defending capital.
No. The treasury is not capital. It's a component of our democratic state. Okay. Nonetheless, in terms of the economic posture, we are a revolution presiding over a capitalist economy. And the treasury has been almost having a neoliberal outlook. We oppose that. But what is important that they are doing is that they've been good in protecting the resources of the country against the hyenas who have surrounded it, including elements that are linked with the Guptas and that are trying to remove everybody there in order that they can take and get contract from state-owned institutions, approvals that are not proper, like the one on Dinel and SAA and many others, in order to steal, essentially, the wealth of the country. So that's what we are in solidarity with, and we think Comrade Pravin has been doing a great job, and the people in Treasury, they've been doing a great job in this regard.
So are you saying that this Comrade Pravin of yours should not therefore subject himself to legal processes that include him responding to the Hawks?
No. He responded to the Hawks. But this is an harassment. We are opposed to abuse of legal processes. The same way we defended President Zuma when we felt that the scorpions were being used to persecute him. No, we don't want the same thing to happen to Pravin. And we think that this president can learn from that particular situation which he also was faced with.
What about the principle of equality before the law?
How can it apply if the law is abused? If the law is abused, they must also know it will lose the respect of the people. That is why the centrality of the rule of the law is also its own integrity.
Who's abusing the law?
Of course, the politicians want to get rid of Pravin and install their corporate capturers of the state.
Names?
Names of people are expensive, but we know them.
That was Solima Paila, the second Deputy General Secretary of the South African Communist Party. And that was Question Time. Have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.